This is going to be just one of those days. I just know it. As ever, late to the party, late to the things, but not late today, as well last week. But anyway, back to MonoGame, back to the show, and let's get on with it. So we're here for the university this week. I need to move my chair. Again, we're doing streaming, we're doing university, we're doing stuff, we're getting on, we're getting going. We've got the university today. Code time will probably be later today, not tomorrow. Lots going on, lots of things shuffling around, so we need to adapt, but we're committed to make sure we keep streaming, keep online, and we've got stuff hanging up. Okay. And yeah, we're getting on doing it. Stay tuned. The next spotlight is due to drop soon-ish, amongst other things. Hopefully been catching up with that. Lots of fun, lots of frolic. But anyway, let's just get on. There we go. Why is this always different when I come back to it? It must be Tom. It doesn't come on this stream. Odd. So we're here. We're here to talk MonoGame. MonoGame C# development language framework for building games for consoles, for Windows, for Linux, for Mac. Some other platforms coming up. I also always keep my mouth shut. Other things going soon. Stay tuned, stay fun. Obviously, 3.5 were desperately close. It was the top topic for our open hours this week. Sorry, not open hours, for our board meeting this week, amongst other things. And fingers crossed, any week now. Vulkan is just proving to be a little bit more troublesome, and we don't want to be half-baked. We think there's still be one or two little things which will need help testing for on a much larger testing scale, but DirectX 12 is ready, Vulkan's ready, Content Builder is pretty much ready. Someone needs to go for the backside and finish the documentation for it, but hey ho. But also, if anyone's noticed, okay, I'll switch back to this now. Where's that? Is that I forgot to call out last week because it was there was a new addition to my shelf. The lovely MonoGame logo, and provided by one in the community. Where are we? There. And if you look on our community site, so that's community.monogame.com, Kelsom has been printing these off. And there's also, if you have a 3D printer, it's providing all the things for it and showing you how to build it and all the different styles it's in. It's also in several different sizes. I think I got the slightly larger one. But yeah, check out the community site, jump in there. You can't miss it. It's basically the 3D printed logo article. And it talks all about it. It looks cool. And we thank Kelson for his community support. Contributions to MonoGame come in many different shapes or forms, and one of which is providing 3D printed funky stuff. And yeah, so I'm such a rush today. I still haven't. Yes, old guy needs glasses. I'm assuming this is working. So I'm just. Today is just going to be one of those days. Come on, tablet. Is he live? Yes, he's got. I can hear. Oh, one gray. Yeah, that's working. But anyway, let's get started. We're to do tutorials on. We're doing more UI stuff this week. So, as ever, if you want to get into the tutorials, just hit the getting started, start the tutorial, and we're straight in. And we're all the way down to chapter 21. Thankfully, a bit more code this week to go through things. Last week, we went through sort of fundamentals of what is UI, how it affects your project and what things look like. And here we're actually now going to implement some funky stuff. Now, it was an interesting thing when the tutorial was being developed and the subject came about UI, and we started to build out something just native to MonoGame. But this showed us a chance to also then showcase and highlight really some of the community effort and packages that are out there. And Gun is fantastic. It's just one of those there. There's also NERS and a few other frameworks out there. If you go to the MonoGame /resources, there's that. And we look at things like UI. You can see here there are loads of Gums there, Mara, ImGUI. ImGUI is good, for, especially if you want to debug and stuff. The 2D shader tutorial uses a lot of ImGUI. There's a MonoGame ImGUI, APARS, loads. And also some other stuff. More ImGUI stuff. People like ImGUI. But anyway, we chose GUM in the end, and Vic as well, who's the creator of GUM, also helped stood in and stepped up and helped out. I've noticed this, the chat started getting, hey, Vic. And yes, lots of funky stuff. GUM has got, if we remember from last week when we talked about kind of UIs and things, UI is something on the kind of engine framework side where you give it some stuff to draw and it handles all the drawing for you. Hey, John. And sorts things out, and also it has like a hierarchy in there so that, as you can see, you have like a top level container, you got visual elements in there, you can have child elements at the top level and child or child and so on, and however deep nested complexity you want. Go and see the GUM docs if you want to see more about that. But the good thing is, case of that, if you organize your UI in that way, it means that you can turn off the top level and all the child elements there can be controlled, scale the parents, all the children sorted out. And it also has a lot of sizing and relation things. So you can set up different kind of settings and options around how the UI works, whether you want to have like fixed amounts, whether you want to say, right, well, this component should take up 20% of its parent. No, not 20% of the screen unless the parent is the entire screen. 20% of the parent, and so on and so forth. The rest of it, if you're used to web and CSS, then these are basically the same principles as used with Flex. So you have flex sizes, flex grids, flex rows, columns. Same principle, but done in a slightly different way. Are we zoomed in enough there? There we go. You can also have like absolute sizing, so you can fix it within an element. Generally speaking, if I'm doing a parent-child relation kind of structure or framework, then I'll rely on those percentages. If you're using an absolute positioning, then what you want to say is, ignore what the parents do. I need to do something else. And generally, there's a better way to do that. So how you organize your UI is important, especially if you're trying to structure and contain it. And there's some good examples in here. So you might have a button with a text element in it, and you're basically saying the text should take up this much space within the button itself. So I don't care how big the button is, it should take up this size. And yet, trees, GUM is excellent. It's not the only forgets the garage. It's not the only tool in the toolbox, but it is certainly very good. And Vic is doing a very good job of keeping up to date. As I well know, is we've had to update the tutorial 3 times now, and invariably I will say to Vic, "You broke it, you fix it." So it's good that tutorials. Vic is also keeping an hand on the tutorials and keeping them up to date as things evolve and change. Hopefully, touch wood, no more changes. But also, it's a case of you might say, well, then the button should use a relative children's size so that it can have setting padding and things like that based upon how the text control works within the control and other sorts of things. This, but essentially, it's a case of the path you choose is dependent upon your game, your UI, how you're going to align things. When you're doing sort of didactic or non-didactic, so didactic of like the content that's going to be within your game world, you might use a different pattern to non-didactic that's on the screen. But ultimately, a case of play, try, do. And obviously, even when you've got width and percentages, then obviously then you can specifically override this by setting fill parameters to change how a control should fill its parent within the screen. And yeah, I suspect this really should be more of a warning than a note, is that keep it simple. It's invariably my rule whenever you're building games and you're trying to flesh things out, is that don't add complexity when you don't need it. So keep things simple, keep it organized, or else you're going to get in a situation where you've got circular dependencies between different components, and then the system's just fighting to figure it out, and it usually just gives up. Anyway, So one thing I do like about GUM is the fact that it does keep to more the CSS style terminology and notes around how these things work. So especially if people come from a web background, they'll instantly recognize a lot of these things. Or if you're coming from Unity UI toolkit, claw my ass out. And it follows the same kind of pattern. So everything on the screen is a visual element. Within the visual element, you have like a container. Then you've got a 9 slice runtime for trying to breaking up or splitting images. You got text runtime for handling text and all the different ways you're going to do it. And also a nice simple colored rectangle, basically a nice simple way to fill your UI if you've not got any artwork to do it. This is good for dev work where you're using placeholders and things. I don't think it really, apart from some very simple games, generally speaking, you're using generated artwork for your UI. Rather than screen and colored backgrounds, but these are really good for when you're playing things out and testing without having to put too much investment to getting things done. But anyway, and the 9 slice routine, 9 slicing, if you're not really aware of it, is basically a way to break up the structure of an individual image. And what it can do is, what effectively it does is that it creates segments. Is there an image in this? No, should have really had an image for this. So you break up an image into the left-hand border, the right-hand border, the top border, the bottom border, and the center. And then you're effectively stating that if you're going to do all the way, any way you're doing your border, then just use the border edges. And within a certain percentage of the image, how much we're using as a border in the border. And then you have the center, which generally speaking, you stretch or tile. We've done tiling. For how you want to be able to then use that within the button. So as a button scales, its borders stay fixed. So this is the text you're using the border, and this is what we're using for the actual center of the button and the text we're using there. So we're slicing up the control. And effectively, it's 9 slicing because you're breaking up into 9 portions, effectively. So two portions for the side borders, 2 portions there, and the center. It's 9 lines. You can go and watch the nice video of Vic. Oh, no, that's not Vic. That's Jeremy. Who's Jeremy? You can go and watch this nice video on knife slicing. It's a technique you use not just in UI, you use it in elsewhere. You use sometimes in tiling systems and how you're going to break things up. It's an alternate solution used predominantly with UI. What is one nice little thing as well about GUM is that it also supports animation natively. So you're not having to go and build a system to say, well, I need to be able to animate this button or it's like a flex or a flash or something like that. Is that within GUM itself, you can actually specify animation elements around the text coordinates within the UI itself. So you can say which part of the text is going to do, how long a part of the textual things. You can think of like sprite batch or storage, but built into the actual UI system itself. Very useful, especially if you're going to do things like bouncing buttons, or you're going to like scale something. So when you press a button, it's going to scale. You don't have to build an entire system for it. GUM does it for you. We like things doing stuff for us. It makes life easier. But also good, keeping again with MonoGame World, is that GUM also respects the same texture coordinate system as MonoGame at XD, where 0, 0 is the top left, 1 is the bottom right, keeps everything the same, nothing different, and use it wherever you like. And visual states. So obviously, as you're using your UI within the solution, it's going to change its state of what you're going to do, whether in a case of where a control is enabled or disabled. So is it going to have, like, is it active? I can click on it. Is it disabled? It's kind of maybe faded and I can't click on it. It's non-interactive or even hidden. You also have focused and highlighted. Generally more of a case of when, I suppose you can have a control as well. So if you're navigating through a menu and you go from one button to the next, you can change its focus status. So this is the control that's currently, if anything happens on the keyboard, it's going to happen to this specific piece of component. Or you can simply have UI that's highlighted. So user, go and look at this part of the screen. It's really important if you're not going to do things. And a good thing is you can apply different animations to these different states. So as something becomes enabled, do a little bounce. As it's focused, it's like it's going in. It's highlighted, then whoa, make it bright. Do lots of different things. And you can also then also apply these states programmatically if you want to change it yourself, if it's not being controlled by the system. And obviously, if a UI system wouldn't be a UI system, it didn't also respond to input. So it manages all the different key events or click events or roll-on events, so that if you're using a mouse, it knows when the mouse is hovering over and gone past the control. A click event if you're clicking on it, or button hitting on it, or something else. And also keyboard navigation. So you're going to have hotkeys. You can have, oh, this hotkey activates this button for those of you who prefer the whole clacky, click and click. Done. Resources. Takes a drink on this one. Obviously, when you're using resources, you need things in there. Now, it's something else both with this tutorial and with GUM itself, is they seem to rely a lot on trying to load textures in it, but we'll get through it. We'll see what it is. Some things like, some things don't. I believe GUM or Vic has been working on GUM to work with the content pipeline, new content builder, but we actually have to check on him to see what he's doing there. This isn't using the content builder. This is using the standard MGCB and I believe loading textures at runtime, which we know how I feel about that. But anyway, so as we need to have some UI in here, let's see, is this the UI? Okay, so let's compare this. So let's have a side by side. Where is the code? That one. So we have a look at so this is saying look at the texture atlas. So it's going to look at our desktop front. There's our content, images, and there's our atlas. So yes, today, there's our atlas. It's just got the tiles. It's got, we can zoom in here. We go. We've got our slime, we've got our bat, we've got our tiles. And we're going to update this now to include both a character set. So this is the alternate way. Instead of doing a sprite font, as we talked about previously, we're pre-generating what the sprites are going to be. This you can also do if you have a text which is just all the sprites that you can, all the letters and things you're going to use, and in your own atlas system, if you're about to work out what characters you can show. But we're also adding some other UI elements here. So we've got some slider bars, some buttons, different states of buttons and other things. So we're expanding what our atlas has and then updating it to work with it. Now, I'll be interested to see, do I actually have to fix anything for this? I don't think so with the texture atlas. We shall see. And the turtle's in the house. So we can all leave and Chris can take over. So while we're here, let's say save this as not you. Where are we? You're on the desktop. We're in the university. Content, images, and we're going to override our atlas. Yes. I have a horrible feeling I'm going to have to change some things. And this is then we're going to update our texture atlas. Now, let's put this over here. Whoop. No, that's the wrong chapter. Bonus and downside of having multiple screens where I can have the code on one side that we can see what we see on stream here. There we go. Go on down. Right. So now, can I recall which looks okay? There's our zoom out. Yeah, there's our different atlas. There's our atlas definition, and let's see. Oh well, we'll see what happens. Because let's see now our slime and bat. Okay, so if you recall back in a early chapter, I did a brave thing where I went and in fact I'm going to have to fix this because there's our tile map and that's our atlas definition, which is the old one, but we converted our old loading texture atlas at runtime into a loading the atlas through the content pipeline. And looking at this, yes, on this atlas now, things have moved and changed. In fact, they're in a different order. So I'm going to have to go and update this. So just a case of just rebuilding this, as it were. So the difference here is, because in the old Atlas, this is a standard XML, where we've got a custom XML class, and then got some stuff in it, some regions. But we converted this to use the content pipeline. In the content pipeline, we have an XNA content asset. We have a asset type. So we're saying this type of asset is a texture atlas data. And then, so we've got you specify where the image is. So that's calling the atlas. Yep, the atlas PNG. And then specifying the regions. So we went from these regions to here. Nope. To there. So let's quickly update this. Let's see, slime 1. Oh, okay, let's also make this bigger. So you're following along at home, you can see all the fun and frolics of trying to do this without thinking about anything. So X is... Interesting, okay, so there, oh yeah, we've got the animations as well. We're so divorced from where we were. So slime 1, that's at 340. Y0, width 20, yeah, the width and height 20. So yeah, okay, it's mostly going to be the X and Y. I'm going to have to change on this. So, okay, but there we go. We kind of both on the screen at the same time. Although when I click on here, that's going to go off. So maybe let's do this. Let's do that here. Do you there. Right. Let's get rid of that. Yes, there we go. Cooking. Who doesn't love to edit some XML in the morning? Okay, so slime 2 is at 340. Okay, that's just shifted around. Also, the size, height, and width. Oh no, I've not turned that off. No, go away. IntelliSense is good at some things. Terrible for things like this. It's like, get out of my way. Just let me work. Right, slime 1 and 2. Right, bats. Where are the bats? But these are all at 340, so let's not... Oh, wait, oh no. 340, 40, so yes. 340, 40. Okay, and then 340 and 60. Oh. Bat 3's at 360. Oh, sneaky bugger. Where are you going? 360 and 0. Where on earth is that one? We should have this on. So okay. Okay, so yeah. Okay, it's one way of packing it. Originally, they were all next to each other, so in a row. And now there are 2 here and 1 there. Okay. Pack it how you like it, I guess. So anyway, 360 down, height and width and things. Then we got this new stuff. So that's the bats. We're still in the regions section. So create some space, create an item, and we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As always. Find a bit of space to break it. Well, no! What the hell are you doing? 1. Oh. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Intentionally break it. Actually, there must have been some snippets I've got from each. What was that? Yeah, they're snippets. Okay. But anyway, we need to put these in here, else everything's going to break. So we want an unfocus button. And you're at 259 and 80. And your width is 65. And your height is 14. Okay, so we then want focus button 1 and 2. I want to minimize my cut and paste. So you go there. Spell check. Even spell check is working against me. Right, so all three of these are at 259. Oh, okay, so this one's 80, 94, and 109. And okay, they're all 65 and 14, so that makes it life a bit easier. I could have changed that first and then copied it, but no, let's not do that. Okay, so that's our focus buttons and unfocused buttons. Okay, now we've got a panel background. It's a tiny little thing, like a 15 pixels wide and high. So, okay, so panel background. Let's do these 15, and you are at 324 and 97. Now the curious thing is that even though I put this to content pipeline, it's not going to build and do it in the content. If these figures are wrong, it's not going to know, because we're not. You could have extended the content pipeline extension to do some validation and make sure, like, as you're capturing areas, to make sure there are enough pixels filling an area, but then you got to work out, is it right or not? That's tricky. Okay, so we're going with some sliders here. So slider U, slider U. Must there be some animations in this? There better not be. There are. Oh, there's one. Oh, it's just one. Okay, one. We're nearly there. We're nearly through this. So, you at 3-4. Slider off background is at 341 and 96, and we are 11 by 10. Who does 11 by 10? Come on. Power 2. It's the rule of thumb when it comes to textures. Power 2 meaning that the width and the height are always scale factors of 2. So it's either exactly the same, so it's square. 51, and you are 3. Whoops. 3. See, 3 and 3. That's a power of 2. So 3 long, 3 high, or it can be 3 by 6, or 6 by 3, or 6 by 6. Okay, and then we are 354, 96. I like cut and paste it in the morning, and again 11 by 10. Right, just a quick visual inspection. 354, 345, 341, 324. Lots of 259s. Yeah. I mean, I suppose, yes, technically the atlas itself is still the power of 2 texture, because its dimensions are square and height, and we just got lots of empty space in there. So even though we've got all this, the texture itself that it fills is square. So, and the reason it's important to have a power 2 is because that's what graphics cards understand. They're nice. They work on fixed values of an aspect ratio 1:1 of what it is, or 2:1, but always in whole elements. If you try to mix and match it, not that it doesn't hurt, but it just doesn't perform as well as it could do. And you need to make sure your content matches what the graphics card is best at handling. Well, anyway, so okay, right, we can get rid of this now. So we got our unfocus button, our focus button 1, 2. Panel background, slider off, slider middle, blah 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 blah. Done. And okay, nicely highlighted here. We know we've also got an animation. We got our animation section there. So we've got an item here, which is that one. We got the bat animation, which is blah blah blah. And we need to add another one. I'm just going to copy this item. So this is the animations is an array, so it's within an item array. I let our master in the house, good old Aristotle, answer this, because he's written a texture packer tool. So yes, what you can give us all the textures, it generates an atlas and then generates you some config. Whether or not that's content pipeline aware, Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, item. Done it. Item. No two spaces, okay, and we want a focused button animation. A delay of 300. Frames region, and we want focus button 1. Look at that, it's exactly the same dimensions as the one we copied. Focus button 2. So it's the same content, but it's using the more modern style of using content pipeline to build the content. And hopefully now, so long as there's no... Now the good thing here, because we're using the content pipeline, I can build this. And if I've made a mistake, I put an extra slash in here or something like that, it will break. I won't, if I run this, if I use the XML at runtime and there's something wrong, your game crashes. Or you get an handle exception, or you get something funky. So if we load up our content pipeline now, there's nothing thankfully changing this. We're using the exact same content, the same files. Bring you over, and I would go and do a build. Provided all my XML is done. Technical access. So we are. Dark green means it's cached. We've not changed anything. Bright green means we've rebuilt it, and we've generated our new XMB file for that texture atlas XML, which is what we're using. Good. Nope, I pressed the wrong button. I don't know what I'm saving. I always save when I'm using when they're using the content pipeline editor. It's just a good sense. Anyway, so that's that done. So now to transfers, but since they're repositioned, we need to change the new technical atlas. Okay, we do need. Okay, now we left this the same. I didn't convert everything because this was just this was something that annoyed me. But we do need apparently to change the tile set region because I see, yes, because on our tile map in our atlas now the tiles here are moved because we got all this other stuff in here. So the tiles our selection of tiles we're using has moved. This part has not changed. So all we have to do then is update this, because this is still being loaded as XML in the program at startup. Right. Okay, we're doing both. Why not? So in here as part of the tutorial now we're still going to use a font. Oh, right. Okay. So yes, this is a point on Vic. Please update this to the content builder or content pipeline, whatever. But GUM loads its fonts directly when you're loading it, and it must be in this age-old code font bitmap font file. So it's an FNT file, not a what we're using today. Yeah, where's one we on the fonts? Yeah. So our current fonts are a TTF, but GUM today, I'll say today because Vic might change it. Uses an FNT. So we've got our 04B30 true type font, but we need the same thing but in a font definition. So we just need to save that in our fonts folder. Save, and hopefully it should be in the same folder, but not our images. We want it in our fonts folder. Oh, okay. It is still being loaded as the NGCB. Okay, I stand corrected. So go into here, go into our content editor. I'll put it on the screen. Font, so we need to add an existing item. There's our font file. Add a link. Now, interesting. So what we're doing here. So we've got that. Add existing, downloaded, and oh yes. So you add it in the content pipeline, even though you're not building it or using the content pipeline to build. If you've got content, you only got two options really to put it into an actual project. One is to have it in the actual project, in the CS project itself, as a reference file. The other, arguably more sensible way, because you need it in the content directory, is to actually copy it. So we're not seeing, MonoGame does not recognize an FNT file, doesn't know it from Larry, so we're just going to copy. So we save that, and we build it. Where is it? Our FNT file. Yep, there we are. That's copying. Saved. Very, very important to all would-be wizards. Always save your content. There we go. Saving that. Where are we? And there's a nice little thing about the FNT file. And we've also got to update our texture region class. But do we? Okay, so we're going to change the coordinate system, that the actual thing, so provide some extra things. So yes, over we go. Again, this doesn't change our content because this is what it's doing after it's been running. But what we're doing is, because GUM needs different coordinates for the textures rather than trying to be source rectangles and things, we need all that we're doing is taking some parameters and then we're using it to basically pre-fill provide the data in the different formats so GUM can use it as well. So where are we? We're looking at a texturing class in the MonoGame library project. Where's our library? Texture region. So we've got things, we've got our Wex. So you can see we've got our source rectangle, which is the rectangle used in the atlas from the texture. And okay, fine. Let's just copy these in. Quick, simple, dirty. Make sure we compile. So yes, it recognizes the source rectangle. And so this is now converting our positional data into texture coordinate data for the images that are being sent over. Nice, done, quick, simple, easy, and we like it. So from here now is that we're actually starting to look at the GUM parts themselves and building out things that we want to use within GUM itself. We are going to run over today. This is just going to take a while, but hey, it's fun. So but as ever, when you're building any kind of UX and things, don't just build each thing and draw it on the screen and slap it there and be done. Think about orchestration, think about how you're going to organize things. If I'm going to have a button, build a button once, then reuse it everywhere else. You might change the texture or something else, but you want to have how the button works, what it does, what it looks like, what it feels as a singular thing, and keep reusing it in your project, not keep rebuilding it every single time you're using it. So this case, we're building out an animated button. So a button, we know it's going to be on the screen. It's going to have some little animations because we've got an animation built on the screen. And we're going to create a component based upon GUM for use in our project. So you can read all this text yourself. So we're going to new element. So we're creating a new class, and we're doing this. So where are we having this? We're going to create a new folder called UI, and it's going to be in. Where are we putting this? I'm going to say it's on our library. So we're creating a new UI folder in our library. Why it doesn't say library, I don't know. That's on me because I reviewed this and I didn't see that. Or I did read it and I was completely mistaken and just fell off a folder. Cliff. Fell off a folder? What am I folding for? What folder am I folding off? Right, and we want the animated button. I'm having to do Unity for my day job at the moment, and to do this in Unity, you can jump through so many hoops. Oh no, there it is. In my Dungeons Land project, in your main game project, I've created it in the wrong place. So, let's collapse all these to make it easier, and let's do again. If I was doing this in Unity, this would have been a nightmare. Collapse you. So I want to take this UI folder I've just created and let's put it into our Dungeons Land project. Because look, it's told us, look, in the Dungeons Land project, your main project, create a folder for UI. Follow the instructions, RTFM. No, Rick, we're not missing. We're not skipping chapter 20. Skipping into chapter 21. This is chapter 21. This could be interesting then. Vic has pulled out a potential issue I might have missed a chapter. Yes, this is supposed to... Oh, crying out loud. Oh, well, we're going to go long today. Thank you, Vic, for pointing out a small, little contextual error. I've skipped a chapter. Ah. Oh, well, it looks like we're doing 2 chapters today. Buckle in, belt up, get in. Ah. I apologise wholeheartedly. Hands up. Thank you, Vic, for pointing out my mistake. Even though the title, chapter 20. Did I do the wrong? Where the hell have I gone wrong here? No, see, like, even the ticker says chapter 20. Ooh, dear. Thanks, John. Yep, this is going to be an extra long thing because we're doing 2 chapters in a week. In fact, that worked out quite well. Thank you, Vic, because that means that we nearly ran into an issue because we're going to put gum into our project and it wouldn't know what gum is because we haven't added it. Blah, 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 blah. Because, yes, before you can use gum, winding back, you need to install gum. Oh, yes, yeah, gum is important because it's the only UI. It's the only UI thing. But anyway, let's power on. So, in fact, some of these we've already covered already. It's a case of like, yeah, no, Vic, it's not you, it's me. So, in fact, we've covered a lot of these things in our case. Why use gum? Because gum is awesome and it has all these features within it. In fact, we covered our gum structure about how we've got a root element, which is a panel, which we talked about. We've got the parent-child relationships. And within here now, so we're going to define a panel, which is effectively the screen we're going to do. And then we're going to add things to that panel, which is in a parent-child relationship order. And then navigating between them is easy because we're then just switching between them as we're initializing. We talked about anchoring last week. I'm going to go double speed now because we're doing 2 chapters. Why not? Then we can do anchoring, as we talked about last week. It's pinning a piece of UI into either a corner or a side of the screen so that no matter how the screen moves, resizes, Thank you, John. I appreciate the love and support there because, yes, we're doubling up because why not? We've been slacking off some weeks. We only did a half session last week. Let's do more. So that will allow us to basically place a piece of content on the screen and anchor it to a particular point of the screen or things. Gum has all the different anchor things we discussed last week. We love anchors, especially if you're on a ship out at sea and you need to stop. Anchors are good. Keeping the shipping theme, we're going to just do some docking, but also, yes, Gum or Sports docking so that we can actually dock UX to a specific area of the screen, align it, move it, change it. Again, this is just repeating almost what we had last week, but this is what good docking means to Gum. And also you can do both, not just docking to the frames and the screens, but you can then also do set dock options within children or where they're going to say how it's going to fill. Now, important case, this is a parent-child relationship again. So if you dock to a parent, it's going to fill horizontal to the parent. If your parent is only half the screen, it's going to fill half the screen. And also, it is an important concept behind Gum is you've got a form, which basically generates a screen, which has interactive elements. And then you've got visuals, which are more like text or images and things you're going to draw on it, which are not necessarily interactive, but they're there on the screen. It all makes sense as you're going through. But panels also don't have to represent just the screen. You can have panels within a panel. And then you can swap out panels between 2. Especially if you use some other kind of UI systems. Panels are a great little catch-all for saying, this is a piece of UI I want to put on the screen, and I just want to be able to take the entire thing off or entire thing on. You could have it as a visual element, but a panel gives you a little bit more control and has other little capabilities you can enable or tweak. But again, how you define this yourself is down to you. It's going to be fun doing the time codes this week. Especially good if you're trying to do visibility and trying to do things, or you're going to try and change the docking of a panel from just trying to put it into a certain area or move it around, or you're going to change the screen around. Gum also has an individual concept of a button being a clickable thing or an element. be interesting reading going back in more too with this is that so in some systems a visual element itself is also clickable because you create a visual element and then register for a clicking back or clicking on it. But a button provides a nice individual understandable case of this is something I'm putting on the screen. A user is going to be able to select it. They're going to be able to click it. It's got certain states and it provides a certain kind of thing the way it can work. And obviously, a button you put on the screen has a certain size. You can click within on the screen. And it provides its own native click understandable event so that when either the UI or a button or something presses on it, it's a specific action that comes out to say, I have clicked. Also interesting note, Vicky can chat about this in comments, is whether or not also it supports double clicking. I'm not sure. So if I click repeatedly on a button, do I get lots of different clicks, or can I also have double click events? So a button must be double clickable. Answering comments. Off you go. Challenging. Out of the box as well, we have some of the other fun little native controls we're all going to use in games, especially in UI and Twitter. We use these in the game in Dungeon Slang for actually controlling the sounds. So we have a slider. Slider being a nice little native control where you have a background region which then has a fill, and the fill itself is programmable, so it goes up and down, and you can change what the values are that could denote it. So whether it's a step control, whether or not you're having a gradient of effect, and obviously what is the current value, where currently within that slider is it. Then it allows you to use that value for controlling things like audio, sound, color ranges, lots of fun things. But also it has several other native events built into it. So it's denotes one as you're changing it. So while I grab this controller and I'm changing it, the value is kind of updating to this value as I'm moving it, but I've not yet released it. And then once I release the slider and moved on to something else, you're going to complete it, say this was the final state of that control, until the user goes and grabs it again and starts moving it. One of the fun projects I have is that I do several UI projects, and thousands of controls. These are always the garden variety, the ones that you need out of the box. Of I need something to click, I need something to slide. It gives you a range or a specific button. Buttons can also be like toggles as well, so you click it on and click it off, and then show a different visual state whether you clicked on it or not. But anyway, go check out the GUM documentation. There's loads of other controls that are in there. These are just the ones we're using today in this project. Now, another thing to note is that with any kind of UI control is that you have property changes. So I'm changing a particular property, which might be a visibility or an option within it. But then you've also got states. So something's happened. What is the new state of this control? GUM is good because it supports both, quite usefully, both direct property assignments. So I can say this control is in this state, or this is what the condition of this control is. For dynamic changes, it allows you to then relate controls to each other, so that, for instance, if something's focused, it can alter its appearance based upon the state, so that you can change the state or have it react and have the rest of the GUM framework react and change to that state. Very useful, especially if it's doing it all for you. But that, again, this is almost why you would use an engine or a framework to do your UI, because you get all these things built in. You don't need to build anything new. You don't have to kind of caveat or keep changing conditions as they're coming up. It's all good. So anyway, again, we've got instructions here for both Visual Code, Visual Studio 22 or 2026. The same thing applies if you're using it, or if you're doing it through the command line. Effectively, what we need to do is add GUM to our project. We're using code, so in this, it's nice and easy. We want to say, okay, I'm going to search for the GUM MonoGame package. So where's our project? Our project's hiding behind the scenes. I have all the projects open, which I shouldn't have at this point in time. Go down here, and we have the Solution Explorer. Again, in case you've hit this before, if you don't have the Solution Explorer there, it simply means you've not got the... Now, can I find it? Error fetching... What? Okay, there we are there. The C# dev kit. If you've not got the dev kit installed, you don't have the Solution Explorer, panic, just go install it and it's running. And what we're saying, we're going to install this into which project? In the Dungeon Slime project. So in our Dungeon Slime project, we're going to add, where are we? I've lost it. I'm constantly losing things. Where are we? Right click and use add new get package. Okay. Oh no. Ha. Project folder, Solution Explorer. Right click the right thing. There we go. So we're going to add a new get package. I'm going to pass in the name. We're on the MonoGame package. There's loads. Right now, pointing out, especially if you're following this along at home, you need a specific version now. We mandate this because GUM is forever changing and we can't continually keep updating the project. Although interesting, Vic, now notice this, the latest one, it says it's 2024, but we need to install 2025. And that does not appear in the list. So, copy that. And it goes away. And you get package. MonoGame. Go MonoGame. And we want this version. Interesting. And then that should appear. There we are. In our dependencies, it goes and downloads, adds the package. And as you got, it was meant to be bigger. 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 There we go. Like MonoGame is also when you get package within your solution. So there's the MonoGame project packages, and now we got GUM on the version that we want, and that everything should work. And that's it. That's all you really need to be able to do to reference it. The other thing you can do is basically edit your CS project file. So as this has already done it, we go down to our project. If I look at my CS project, if I close that now, go down to my CS project, you can see now it's added a package reference to GUM for the version that is selected. You can always just say copy paste it, and then it just works the same way. And that doesn't download until you build the project, although if you do this through Solution Explorer, it does download the actual package and then associate it. If you add it text manually, you need to build the project first. And oh, look, see, we would have missed this now. We're also adding some sound effects. So in our content audio folder, save as content and audio. There we go. And of course, in the content editor approach, we still need to edit things. In the new brave world, when we get there in the content builder, we won't have to, because that will be all well, we're done. By saving it there, I can build the content, it will be there. But we're not there yet. Long may the day arise when the content builder is here. Right, so audio is not there. We need to go add system. Hey, no. I'll use the icon. Existing item. There's our UI audio. Add it. Build it. Are you building? Yes. Save. And close. Right. Okay, we have some audio. Going on. And again, this is everything we would have hit before. We're not doing things. We're flipping around, chipping about, up and down. Okay, so we need to go initialize GUM. So in our game, okay, let's go back to our split screen, because that seemed to work quite well. If we get rid of this, let's see. So there's our content, there's our UI, and where's our game? There it is. There's our game. So for initializing GUM, we need some references. We need so many references. Well, we've already got the library, so that shouldn't be highlighted, but there we go. But we need GUM forms, controls, and also MonoGame GUM. We ask not why we have so many, but we have so many in the project. The simple reason is because we're using different controls in different areas within GUM, so we need to make sure we get the references to all of them. And then we need to go and do some initialization. So, oh, in fact, no, we're actually an entire method. Okay, so in here, no, this is actually very important because this thing missed one of the initial reviews. If you don't initialize gun, it does not work. Very important. And also in setting up all the default options. Hey, the comments out of date. Look at that. Someone raised an issue. The comments are out of date. V2 is the latest. No, it's not because we're using V3. I'm calling out the person who updated the tutorial to use V3. He's on the call. Okay, so we're going to specify where the content's coming from. Now, interestingly enough, GUM was around when XNA was around. So it still says XNA Content Manager. Just saying. Okay, then we're setting the framework section, the keyboard controls, gamepad controls, because it's got all his input things of how it's going to work. And then we've got some default rendering options. So let's get this method, get this into our function here. Nicely aligned. Everything's there. Things recognized. Good. Our namespaces are working. And then, very important, we also then need to make sure we call this method, or else nothing's going to work. So we order a play song, go change song, but we want to load the UI before we load our scene. So before the game loads and before I start drawing things, we need to have our title scene up. And we've gone through this already. So we got some basic initialization, we set up the content pipeline, we set up input. Now, interesting, okay, yeah, so GUM also has, being an engine and framework, it's also got nice little things like tab control. If you're on a keyboard and you want to tab through your input, it has tab support. And it also sets up the scaling for the canvas that we got. So that was down there where so yes, this set all the scaling. So we're setting up what our default size of the canvas is and how it looks. And then we need to go and add some UI. So we're going to start with some basic UI. And then in the next chapter, I wonder when we'll do that. We're going to start styling that. So you're going to see out of the box we get with GUM. And then we're going to look at updating that and changing that so it looks better. So, right. We finished our game. So our game is now loading GUM. GUM is ready to be used. And we got a new title scene. And let's put some UI into our title scene. So we're on some usings here. I'm going to skip over this and we'll just add it. We'll get the project to do it for us. So we need some new field in the title scene. Nope. Come on, where are we? There we go. Yep. They're not going to work, so I'm going to add and so you're going to find some. I'm doing control periods, basically call up the quick fix for doing out for where the references are. Okay, and we're going to create the title panel. So in here we've got a nice little class. And this is where it shows really, and this is where you need to have consideration when you're building out your UI. How you want it orchestrated, how you want to organize things from parent-child relationships and how they're going to be on the screen. In the Dungeon Slime main screen, we've got a couple of buttons, and that's pretty much it. And we got a title, but the title's 3D, so it's already handled in the background. We only care about the actual UI itself. We don't do everything with GUM, although we could. You just do the bits you need. So in here, we're going to have a panel, which is going to be sent. You can see it's going to be docked to fill the screen. So the panel is going to fill the screen. So no matter which way the screen resizes, the content's going to be the same. And then we're going to add that to the screen. And then within that, we're going to have two buttons. And then we'll set the start button to its focus. So if I press A or click or hit enter, start button is already pressed and ready to go, shortening the time the person needs to start the game. So let's throw this in here. We're going to initialize, we're going to load content. Where should we put it? Let's do it before update because we're setting up the scene. Well, we got some red school ghosts, which that I'm going to guess it's going to be, yep, using MonoGame GUM. But then here we got some events. Obviously, putting the button on the screen, great. But then we need to say, when you click this button, do what? Do what? Get out of the screen. Because obviously right now, the way we've updated when we updated the background, had the scrolling background, we've got two scenes. The only thing that loads is the title scene. Nothing else is happening. Nothing tells you go from the title screen to the game screen or to something else. So this is what we're going to do. We have some buttons. You can click on it. It does things in the game. So first up we need to be able to handle is when we hit start, Obviously, when we hit start, we want to go from our title scene. Hey, no, twice. We're going to go from our title scene to our main scene. Now, this is using the standard event tag. So again, don't reinvent the wheel. If you need to use something that already exists, there we go. Use the system event tags, and it's now wound up. So the click event provides the standard event tags kind of syntax. We're having a sender, which is the button, and the event tags of what was pressed. We're not using it because all we're really doing is say, have you clicked? Right, do this. We don't care what the event tags are. I mean, you can look at these things, and so e dot. Okay, there isn't really anything in there. It's just using the standard event syntax for how you're going to work. You can probably see this. Yes. Yep, it's using a standard system event handler for with clicking. Musings, thoughts. So that handles on the start. So if I click on the start button, we're going to play a sound effect, and then we're going to change. We've got all that logic we built in 2 captures ago. Go and load the game scene. The game scene will then run, and our game's running. Yay! And the crowd goes wild. But obviously, then we're adding in another screen. Now, rather than having, we're creating an entire new screen, we'll put new things in it. This is where the concept of panels really comes in useful, because we've got the panel that's actually having a lot of main screen stuff in, but we don't need, we're in the same window. We don't need to change or add something new. All we've got really is different UI. We can use the same background, maybe add the title, and hit this is what we've got here. So we play the UI sound effect, which basically means it's just a button clicking sound effect. And what we're going to do is we're going to hide the title screen that we've got, and we're then going to basically make our options available and then focus on it. Because if you don't change the focus, you're still focused on the old panel. Even though it's disabled, you're still focused. Yeah, it's fun. So we're having it so that we've got 2 different screens I shall show you. But obviously, at the moment, we've not set these up. All we've done is set up. Are we already set up? Oh, no, we have. Sorry, in fact, I was talking backwards. Our main panel screen has just these 2 things. We've got a start button. We've got a start button and we've got an options button, but there's nothing else behind it. So there's no panels. We've just got the title screen. So in the title screen, we're just going to click it and change scene. So throw away the UI, go somewhere else. And our options button is going to load up this options panel. But the options panel, although we have a reference to it, it doesn't exist yet. So if I click on this now, it will probably break. So what we're going to do is we're swapping out the UI. No, keeping the same screen in the same area. We're just going to change the UI. We're going to look at something else. So in here now, what we're going to do is we're going to create our options panel. Now, I like to order things. So we're creating a title panel. Let's create our options panel. So when our options panel opens, well, that's it. That's something using, isn't it? Goo driving. Gums driving. So, like we created our title panel, which has all this buttons panel, 2 buttons. Great. In here, we're creating a new panel for options. So again, we're switching out what we can see. We're going to have some text which says, wait for it, options. Why not? And then we're going to have a label which says we're going to have this. It's always nice when you put UI on the screen to also have a label or something next to it to tell you what the hell you're looking at, what we're talking about. So we're just adding a label called music, and then we're going to add this to the options panel. Interesting. Hey, book number 3 in the UI tutorial, because that should be underscore. That needs fixing. Someone please make a note. There we go. We need to fix the tutorial because it's broken. And then okay, so then we got the music slider. So we got a label saying music, and so we got music slider. We got some events for handling when the value changes. And oh, look at that, we broke it here as well. I blame the person who updated the gum tutorial. Anyway, so we got a label for sound effects, and we got another slider for sound effects, and also we got a back button. So we're adding another button But also these have got no events and things in it. So fine, that's setting our panel. And then we need our events. So now, realistically speaking, around, I'm going to reorder thing. I don't like. I like to organize my code to make it things. So, okay, fine. We've got the options panel. We've got the title panel, and it's got its title events. And what I like to do. Is create region. Now, regions are good because it allows you to create collapsible areas of code. So if I want to look at the title region, oh, no, that's the option panel. So I've got a region there, and what I can do now, you see, like I can collapse it. There you go. Yeah. I got a region. Options. And I'll put down here, and this just helps me. I like doing this because it helps me organize my code. So if I'm looking for things to do the option screen, it's only one place. I'm looking to do with title screen, so another way. But anyway, we want some events now. Okay, so let's say when the slider aspects change, we get a reference to the slider as it's coming from here. So again, this is where you're in the standard event syntax kind of logic. So the sender is the thing that clicked. So we know it's the sender. And then we're going to go and change our audio sound effect volume. And obviously then we're going to do this when it's finished. So I can keep changing it until it's done. And then what effectively all I'm going to do is when you finish changing it, we'll play a sound at that sound level. That way you can hear what you're changing it to. You could do it here as well, but you then can get a bit grating because you're constantly repeating playing the sound. And then we got the music changer. We're going to do exactly the same thing here. As we change it, we're going to change the value, but not change the actual audio. And then we're going to play the sound, play the actual. Oh, okay, there. In fact, there we're going to say ping if you moved it. But no. I've got an region now. That's either. There's an region. Okay, so that's those two in, and then they're honestly self-contained. Oh, we're still missing the options button. Let's have a look. We've got red squiggles. There's our options button. Well, not our options, but our back button, I should say. So we've got all our options. We want to go back. Please take me back to the main screen. And all we're really going to do there is that, like the options button took us to swap out the buttons panel for the new options panel, we're doing the reverse. So yes, we clicked. We're going to make the title screen visible. I'm going to hide the options panel. That's not right. See, the text is right. That's not right. So, no. I wonder how that ever worked. I mean, we'll try it and see how it works. I mean, preferably I usually like to turn things off before I turn things on, but this is turning things on and then turning it off. Making mental notes, I missed that. Bad sign. Okay, so then we now need to go and initialize this UI. So we're going to create a method to go and do this. I'm going to hide all these because I don't want to see them again. Yeah, we go. Come on. There's my options panel, my title panel. Hey. Right, now this is initialization code. So I'm going to put it next to my initialize so I can keep track. And let me guess, initialize URI is going to go into here somewhere. Let's see, right at the end. So we've got our screen ready. Our UI is painting on top of our screen, so we'll just initialize it as we do. And also, oh yes, we need to load some content because obviously we're playing the sound effect all over the place. So we need to make sure that sound is loaded. Load our sound effects. And GUM also needs to be updated. Okay, down here now. Coming up. I like to keep my spaces clean. Personally, I want to put that at the top, around the bottom, but hey ho. And draw. Okay, so fine. We've set up all this UI. It's there, ready to go. But obviously, we're not doing anything with it at the moment. The only thing we're doing is drawing a background. Drawing some shadows, drawing some text, which shows the big dungeon slime rotating around and playing around. I gave something away there. It's not rotating around, it's coming flat. There might be another tutorial which takes our 2D game dungeon slime things and makes it rotate. I can't wait to get to that. That'll be more fun. But anyway, you know, no, I'm going to keep it. I might go back and do this as well. So, let's see now. Does this need anything? It doesn't look like it. Aha! Go away. So you follow it. You make a pattern and you follow it. There we go. Nothing red, nothing red, nothing red. Because he's using our stuff up there. Now I want to go draw my UI. Oh, interesting. Now, if I did what it says here, I think there should be a dot 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 there because cost sprite match end has not been updated. There. So draw all the things, and again, MonoGame is order dependent. So as you're drawing stuff on the screen, draw the background first, all the way to the front, not the other way around. If you try to all the way around, all you're going to get is the background. So there's our UI. It's drawing on the screen. As long as the top screen is visible, we're going to draw the UI. Interesting. Okay. So what makes it visible? Okay, now this point in question. Okay, so the buttons initializing, load content, create title panel. Because I can see we change the state here. And we're checking if it's true here. Okay, so no set to that true here. So what's setting the initial state? Only there. Interesting. That means it must default to true. And if we create our options panel, maybe this must work because I've done this countless times. Okay, so if I run this now, save. Debug, start new instance. What will happen? Will I have a UI? Will I not have a UI? Will I have two UIs? Something's running. Oh, yeah. Okay, there we go. We got a start, we got our options. We got back button. Also, let's do it near because it's kind of taking up the entire screen. But we'll fix that in the next chapter. Later today. Click start. Goes to our game view. There we go. We're going. Okay, fine. There we go. We are running. And it works. But it begs the question. Question for you, Vic. There you go. But also, we want to have some nice UI in our game scene as well. So let's go over to our. Bring you down. What's our game Scenes, game scene. So let's not leave game scene out. You can have some UI as well. So yeah, we got the usings. We'll come back to that. Oh, I see. Yeah. So in the game scene as well, we want to be able to pause. So, well, the thing about the music there is there's an optional challenge there. In fact, a challenge to anyone really. As they do a tutorial, we're just releasing now. I don't think it's on the. I'll have to chase it on. We have as we announced in the open hours last month. We had a brilliant donation from an audio engineer who's deployed 1.6 gigs worth of audio for you to play with. So the first challenge: who out there can make the best selection of audio for the Dungeon Slam tutorial? Answers on postcard. But anyway, let's add some references. Same old song. Here we go. Where's our references? There we go. There's our references. Okay, fine. We need to know. We need GEM. There's some GEM references. We have some pause game logic. So if I want to pause, then I'm going to show the UI that I want on the screen. So hello. I'm going to say this is an update call because if you're pausing, you're going to update. There we go. And then we want to see. No. Okay, I'm going to copy this in, but I'm going to fix it because we update. Together we've updated the input system so that it's a bit more agnostic. So where's check keyboard input? Oh yeah, we've just got check input now, and we just need to have this anywhere else. So actually, it doesn't really matter where. So that's okay. We've got input down, up, down, left, right. Okay, we got an interesting P is for pause. Okay, this is using escape. Okay, so we need to go into our, let's see, copy that, escape. And we're going to go core.input. Give it a name. There we go. I'm going to do that. So we're going to go to our input manager. And we're going to create another one of these because, again, having controls linked to actual action. So I say this is a thing. This is what needs to happen for it to happen because at the moment, what do I call it? I've forgotten already. Pause pressed. And because you can see the initial problem there straight away. This now only works. The pause only works for consoles. So for keyboards. But what if I want to use gamepad? So I'm going to also then update this. And because I'm doing it here in the Impact Manager, I don't need to muddy or dirty up my actual game code. And we're going to say, okay, we'll update you, copy that. I'm going to say buttons.start. So if I press the start button, it's going to pause my game. If I press escape, it's going to pause the game. Making sure that, just double check. So I think we've changed this through here. Go away. Okay. You see, interesting. By matter of fact, we've got to check here. It's going to escape if you press escape. However, escape already does something else. And maybe we're just not setting the value. So that potentially could conflict. But it works. I know it works. We played and tried it and done it. So anyway, yeah, I say yeah, not fine. Okay, fine. They put it, but it's in a different section. But now instead of two different sections, they've got it in one place. You have pause, and we're going to pause the game. And so just done that. So we'll go back to our game screen. If it's paused, we're going to pause the game and return. In fact, yeah. All right, and now we're going to have okay, we've got some UI. We're going to create a pause panel. Now creating stuff that's an initialization step. Where it has updates, load content, okay, initialize. More gum stuff. Gum. Gummy. Gum. What to look at? Yeah. Okay, so we got that. Yeah. Yeah, let's have a region because let's keep it. We made a pattern. We shall keep to the pattern. So we've got a pause panel where we've got we've got a panel. We created a nice coloured rectangle. See, this was where you have the fill. So you create a docked area and you're setting a background colour. So it's automatically just filling it to a colour before you need to do anything. Then you know I'll need to change that to an image or something. Then I'm going to have a text saying, "Oh, paused," and then a button saying, "Go back" or "Quit." So if I go and unpause effectively, no, if I so hit resume, then we're going to unpause. And if I quit, then we're going to go back to the title screen, of course. We're not bombing out of the game or crashing it or anything else. We're just killing it. And so then we just need to go, we need our initialize UI. So we're going to put that up here. Got that spaces in, done. So I create a registered gum and create a pause panel. And then we need to go and obviously initialize our UI in our initialize gum. So initialize, and done. But also again, we're using the same sound effect for the buttons. So we need now really okay. So personally, I would have put that into the core because it's a thing we use in a lot of places. Because we're loading it twice here now, even because we're not unloading content between title screen and main screen. We load it twice. Now, one really good thing with the content pipeline is even if you do this multiple times, it's only loaded once. All that really happens is the content pipeline goes, "Yeah, I've already got it here. This is the one I created. Go and load it." So you can do this as many times without ever worrying about memory leaks or things like that. You're not loading multiple instances of the same thing into memory. It goes, "I've already got that. Here you go." Safely manages it. And then obviously we need a quick update in the beginning. We need to hold the update for GUM itself. But obviously, if we want to pause the game, we need to make sure the game does pause and doesn't continue running. I think it's Horizon or a few others where if you pause it, things are still going on and you can die because something comes around the corner and goes, "Ha, you're dead." And then we're going to go and draw. Where's our draw call? Check it. Draw. Again, after the sprite batch end, because we've finished all our MonoGame drawing, we're now going to draw gum. And then that's going to give us our lovely pause screen. So we would normally end here, but we're going to continue because we're halfway through the next chapter. Why not? So let's test this out. Anyway, debug, start new instance, take a drink. So there we go. As we've seen before, we got start options. That's fine. We click start, go to a game screen, and hit that escape. Then we're going to pause and resume, or pause, or quit, So if I hit there, if it has escape there, that's fine. Okay, done. Right. That was chapter 20. Yeah. Oh, moving swiftly on. Okay, so now we have to go back to 21. Where were we? Halfway through. Yeah, we're going to do gum. It's all in all the week's worth. So time for 21. And my caps lock on. I've shouted at everyone. There we go. So where were we? We're doing all this. We've done all the things, sounding things. So we've done all the updating there. We've done a blah blah blah, and we started creating our animated button down here. Where are we? Here's our UI, and there's our animate button. There's nothing into it because that's when we got interrupted. So we've got a bit of basic UI in the screen in the game. All well and good. But let's face it, it looks terrible. These blue boxes with some raw text, yeah, we can do better. GUM can do better and get on and do more things. So, as we're whipping back, apologies to everyone who's just starting the stream now. We made a bit of a faux pas. We started chapter 21 before we even done chapter 20. Hey, well, why not? So we went back and we've done chapter 20. We'll update on the time codes. But anyway, we've left our game now. We've got a game that's got some very basic UI. And we want to use GUM's magic features to then do some styling on it. So we can take these basic, just block-filled text boxes and actually make them pretty. So first and foremost, what we're going to do is we're going to create our animated button. This game is so fun to edit tomorrow. So in here, case of, you've got animated button. What you're doing is doing some funky things. So we set up our texture atlas with our different animated states. And we're basically going to take this thing we're going to call an animated button, we're going to style it. So in there, we're effectively going to say this is the default state image. This is another state image. This is another. And then we're going to blend between them as they animate in a nice little bouncy fashion, just to add a little bit of prettiness in. So, we're basically taking the texture atlas we loaded. We've updated that texture atlas over here. Where are we? In our texture atlas, we're down here. No, not down there. We're down here. There we go. In our modified texture atlas is that we made it so that we've got coordinate systems which GUM can use. Yay. So then when in our button, we're going to use those and set up all the dimensions for all these elements. So we've got setting up the fonts. We set up texture regions for what we're picking out. And then we're setting up animation frames based upon what we configured as animation frames within our XML. So we're just taking the XML, we're reading it in, you can go through this in the tutorial, and having it so that we got one animation set from when something's focused, got another animation set from when it's not focused, and we're chaining those different animations together so that we can then blend between them. And then controlling then all the different states that we're applying. So if a control becomes focused, do this. If it becomes highlighted, do this. And also having it so that key up, key down can move around controls. Lots of funky things, but doing this within its own individual controls. So I'm building it once. In here, this is my concept now, an animated button. And I use that then throughout the system. So if I then want to change how that button looks, how it animates, maybe apply a different sign, I change it, make one change, and every other button in the panel or in the screens that use the same control all does the same things. We have key down handling. So if we're changing it down, then we're doing things, and also we're using tab logic in here now. So if I do tab, go to the next control, go tab, go to the other control, back on, and then also handling the roll-on state, which obviously is when a mouse hovers and moves over. So if you're on a keyboard and mouse, great. If you're on a controller, everything looks cool and fandibidozy, as it were. Sorry if you're not British and lived in the 80s. The crankies were a large influence on a lot of us Brits. Lovely phrases. Feel free to go look up and Google the crankies. It's safe, I think. So we set up one control. This is our animated button. That's going to replace all our buttons. But we're also within those animations, we then want to change the visuals a bit now. So we can use a bit of the actual extra stuff that we threw in there to make it also a bit prettier. And so we're basically creating a new button visual component and changing how it looks. Altering up, if I know, this is talking about here. This is changing out all the actual visuals within it. So we're changing out the visual elements. We're adding in some nice elements for slicing up the images. That's going to make the button so as it expands or contracts, it looks the same. It has the same border, same interior, scales it nicely. We're doing some funky stuff with the text to make the text a little bit prettier. and also changing the color instance of the text itself by an RGB value. And then we're creating the animations. We've just been through this, changing all the states and how we can change the states, how the button reacts, adding in the input handling, and also the focus management. Oh, we're going through a lot quicker than we thought. So that creates our buttons. We got lots of buttons, but the other control that we predominantly use within in the actual UI now is our slider. So again, like the animated button, we want to create one slider class to make all sliders prettier. So we're going to go and create our options slider in the same folder. And then we'll go through this a bit slower this time. Options slider. Let's go and copy this code in, and then we can walk through all the different elements within this. And a lot of this follows the same pattern for how we're working. So we can go through that, get down to the explanation. So with this slider, we're controlling both the background, so it's the unfilled area of the background. So like this is what it looks like when it's not got any progress. We're doing like the in or the fill rate, which has done it. Setting up then what is the minimum and the maximum, the off state and the maximum state. So else you're just going to keep going. No, you can't really keep going, because when your slider's full, what does it mean? Is it 0 to 1? Is it 1 to 100? Different things. I'm going to track so you can actually do touch import, and also changing the fill so it looks. The fill represents what the value is set at. So obviously in there, we're setting up the text property of this is the label we're going to use for this. Now again, this is something else. If you're having a button, then usually the button text is the information to tell you what the button is. If you have a slide on the screen, then you need something that tells you what this slider is, generally by a label which is associated relative to where the control is. So if you know a slider is always going to have a label, then build that into the control itself. That way, whenever you put a slider somewhere, it's always going to have a label to say, what is this slider? It's good for making sure uniformity and you don't forget anything when you're putting it in. So we're defining a label, and we're adding in some, we're skipping around a bit now. Enable to apply. Where are we? Jumping around. Bad form. A lot of this here is basically just setting up the actual elements of what you're going to have a slider. So you got a nice slice for the background. We've got some text that's going to be for the label, or also potentially for replace me. I like it. Then you got like the inner container for what is the fill area, and then elements of docking. So again, even though we've got a slider in it, we can use the docking controls to basically say, well, in the fill, it's docked. It fills the actual the region within it. So then we got the off background, we got the middle background, and then the max background. So you can have, if you want, you can also have a gradient in there. Then we set up the track area for how you're going to do it, and then the fill area for how much we're going to fill the slider as it goes, and then obviously then giving the fill the color up to this max region. So then when we come to here is the case we want it so that as we're changing it, we're also then changing what the slider is and how we're going to paint or fill the slider control as it goes on the screen. Lots of funky things. And we're simply doing this by saying that when it's enabled and when it's setting a state, when we have focus, then it's slightly brighter and it's more focused, so that you'll see that when we're on the screen, we're changing it. If I've got one slider selected, it's slightly brighter. When it's off, then it's slightly dimmer. So we can play around with these things to make your UI really pop when it's on screen using this, where before it didn't. And then obviously we'll be able to save what it's on. So in here now, we've also got, hey, there you go. Obviously we need to be able to handle when it changes. So in here now, so if I change it by the UI, the slider going on, or when my cursor's going over, or when I change up and down the value, we're handling it out and then changing, importantly now, not anything outside it. We're controlling within this now the behavior and controls within the control itself. So how is the UX changing this? Now, this is following a kind of what we call an MVM or MVVM kind of pattern where the control is handling the UX itself. The data that's going on is outside of its control. We're looking at just the actual internal control itself. So we're changing how it fills based upon what its value is. Looking the value, is it more than the minimum? Then this is what it should be. If it's less than the maximum, then this is what it be, and then we're going to fill it based upon that ratio. So within that now we've got a button. So a button which has several visual states and an animation that's built into it. So when you're clicking it, and also a slider that has its own label positioned above it, and then has filler elements that also show brighter when it's populated. And dot. Oh, some chat going on. So we got a chat work saying, "What's the best UI?" And Vic goes, "It's GUM." One thing we highlighted at the very beginning of this is generally the UX framework I think you're going to do is what works best for your development pattern, also what meets your needs for it. So is it flat UI? Is it something else? Is it more animated? Is more dynamic UI of the game? I think Vicky can comment about whether or not how usable GUM is within the 3D scene, sort of didactic UI. We don't do anything like this tutorial. But anyway, we've got our controls now. So we've got our slider, which we know how it looks, and we've got our button. Great. We have controls. Control. You must have controls in your screen. So if we go back to our game's title screen now, which is the thing that's using most of this. Now, all the controls are getting used within the title screen, but obviously we've got some default things in there now. Also, we've set up labels separately with our sliders in our options panel, so we need to change all this. So first thing we need to do, okay, in our title screen now, we're actually going to use some of this stuff we've just set up. But I'm going to leave that off. So we're going to add in our new animated button, and also we need to create a reference to our texture atlas. That'll be interesting. Let's see what happens. So this is not using anything what we've got at the moment, so we need to go off. Let's see if it can it break it. So the animated button, we need to use the new UI we just set up. And the texture atlas we're using comes from our library. But obviously we've got some conflicts here now. So we need to replace these because we're swapping out what was the old buttons with our new animated button. So we'll swap those out. So you got, it says existing fields and swap it out. But no, we're replacing the old buttons. No, we don't need to do that. So atlas. I see, that was that atlas. Okay, well, we're not doing that because we've changed that. So if I look over in our game scene, which is our texture atlas, we're using texture atlas data now. We're keeping it simple, keeping it separate, so we're not using that now. We will have to do some changes, and that is using our content types. So instead of this, we're not doing that anymore. Go down to here. Oh dear, it's back. See, we didn't hide snooze for long enough. Go away. There. Initialize one, load content. So we need to load. Nope. No. Go back to our game scene, which is using it already. There we go. Right. Okay. So we do. We do need that. Do still need that. Change loading, but we're just loading the data from there. So go back to here. Why are we using Ellis? We're not. I see. Okay. Get the animated button from the atlas. So we still do need that. Actually, we don't need that. Okay. Let's figure this out. So, in which case we do need to do that. But what we're saying is we still need you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is break it and then fix it. Where's all there? We don't need that. We got two. We could take time and clean this up and have it the actual tech labs just do it for us and clean it up. We have what we have. I can fix that later. So that was data. Why is that saying something bad? What's bad? Oh yeah, because we changed. Okay, no, we changed the button sizes. So we're now loading our content pipeline, texture atlas data, and then creating our texture atlas from that data, which obviously is what we're using here. So we've done that, and now we need to go and update our title container. So we've got my region, yay! And instead, okay, and this is ultimately what we're changing now. So our start button originally was a button, and we're now going to use a animated button. So we don't need to do that, and we'll just change it. Start button is now an animated button. Our option button is an animated button, which means all the things we've built into what is a button are already set up and built in. The only thing we need to do when putting it onto the screen now, don't need to worry about visuals, don't need to worry about animation. All we need to do is say where to put it. What is its name? Which is what we're already doing. But obviously with our options panel is a little bit more complicated. So down here, where's our options? So okay, yeah, that's our title panel. We can collapse that. And we're in our options panel, which has a little bit more funky now because now we've got two sets of controls. We've got a few buttons. Let's see now, why is this highlighted? So, okay, so it's still the options text, it's still 10. Why is this over highlighted? Options, but we're using a custom font. Okay, let's just overwrite this. Oh, because it's also switching to a text runtime. Okay, right. So we're using text runtime, which is more stylized version of the text rather than just the raw thing. Okay, then we get to the important things now. We've got our slider, and we're now changing our music slider. And now all of that. See, this was music. Oh, right. Okay, so I'm correct. We don't need the label anymore, so we get rid of you. See, that's not there, missing. So now it's okay. We've got slider, the name. Okay. Previously we had the label with the name, and then we've got the slider, but now the name's in the slider. So we just need to change you. Yep. Swapping out you. And so because now the label is built into control, we don't need to worry about it. We just say you're a slider, this you off your music. Done. And then we need to do the same for the sound effects one. So we can get rid of, in fact, there we go. We'll make this easy. We'll just go there. And then obviously we need to change our button because option button is now an animated button. So animated button from our atlas. And then should be interested to see if this works. Because we're using a completely different way. Now, granted, the content's exactly the same. We've already updated all the things. We'll find out if I actually messed up all the values. Update the game. No, okay, no. Forget the game scene. I want to see this working. Start new instance. We'll go for our longest tutorial session ever. No, I don't want you. Where's the game? Where's the game? I've hit the game. Come on back. And here we go. Minor issue still there. I guess we still need to play around because obviously Dungeon Slime's on there. We still got press enter to start. Now maybe that was the text we were supposed to get rid of. But you can see here now, we built an animated button. It has got, because I've got a focus state, it's now doing this nice little wiggly animation. Our texture atlas is fine. All hail. And you can see now the 9 slicing. So the curve, I'm pointing at the screen. So you got curved edges of the buttons and the bar. Okay, so that's part of the 9 slicing on the text. So as you can see, that does run the fill around the edges, and then the center is just filled. with white. And then we're using a nice little stylized text version or custom text font. And because it's focused, you got those things. But if I change over here, the start goes darker. So again, that's the visual state of the start button changed. It's now dimmer. And now the options is brighter and there's an animating on there. And if we go to the options screen, hey, got options. Oh, I see. Right. We've removed Dungeon Slime from the equation because it's all filled. And again, it's getting now this. You can't hear the music changing, but we still get to enter to start. So again, maybe we should have ripped out some of that stuff. Oh well. And you can't hear the music. So there's the main part of the thing is we can see the buttons in play, we can see the sliders in play, and now we're moving to the game scene. We're just doing exactly the same thing as swapping out those things to make them better. So again, right, we need to we'll make our lives easier. Get rid of you. So we've done this in the title, get rid of you. So we're just replicating what we've done in title scene. So we need both of you. And instead of just copy and pasting, we can just change these now. So where's the game scene? There you are. Go up to the top. There. But instead of a button, we're going to do an animated. Oops. Can't type today. Yeah. Animated button. Except we've already. Oh no, game scene. We've already got this. Yeah, we've already got Atlas data. We didn't have, or we do have, I should say, the Atlas, but we're not called. Okay. Breaky, breaky, quickie. Oop. We've got Atlas data, but we also need the Atlas, which if we go down here and quickly fix this. So originally we were just loading it. Easy way, the hard way. Oh, I'll do the hard way because it's just going to create it messy. Anymore. Oh, yeah, we can't create from button. That's fine. We're going to do that. So learn Atlas. Okay, and we're going to create. Well, those shouldn't be highlighted. That's already in there. So load content. Yeah, I'm going to blame the guy who updated the tutorial for this. I'm super okay. Let's just fix this. Okay. Load content. Yeah. Slime animation. Yeah, those are the same. They should be highlighted. We've got this, but we're already doing it because we already learned the content. That, in fact, in the original tutorial, that should have changed because that was still the same. In fact, yeah, there's nothing to do in here. Oh no, okay, we need to update so that. But the only thing we're doing was changing that we're storing the Atlas in the thing because we need it for the gun. Okay, and where's our pause panel? Here's our pause panel. Okay, and we're going to panel back. Okay, so previously our pause panel was just a solid blue bar, which is boring. So we got dark. So we're going to create a background region. And then I'm going to, okay, so where before we just said fill a color rectangle, we're now going to change it to a nice slice image texture. So this is it. We've got our content from our, okay, we need to using here. Yeah, we got our art from our artist. We're filling it in. We're using an image instead of a fill. Again, we're going to use a custom font for our text now. So you pause. We're going to say we're going here. And okay, resume button we've already changed. Why is that not complaining? because it's declared here. Right, okay, fine. Okay, so there we go. Now we've updated that, and there we go. Right. So our game scene is up today. So we've built just two controls that we've used through the entire project. One little animated button with our little animation, and also the fading when it's based on the style. And then we've also created the slider so that it looks nice and stylish, not a blue box bar thing. So now if we go into our game view, it should look a bit better. There we go. Right, so there's our starting option. So let's go to start, and I'm going to hit escape, and there we go. And now you can see we've actually got a nice styled blue background with a border rather than just a solid bar, and got some nice stylized text. And then we got exactly the same behavior because we've got the buttons. I'm going to quit now. That's enough torture. There we go. 2 hours straight with a real big hodgepodge mix around and mismatch and fixing the time codes. Thanks to everyone for sticking around and going beyond how we're doing GUM. I can't stress how much really when you're building a game and you're defining how your UI is going to work or what it's going to look like. I'll tell you what, let's just do this, get this out of the way, and we'll go to the things. So yeah, if you're on the YouTubes, like and subscribe. If you're on the Twitches, bell, notification, everything helps. Everything goes beyond and beyond. I'm going to the question and answers. So when you're building out UIs, it's critical to think about first, make it functional. So yes, use your block backgrounds, block it out. Don't invest so much time in artwork and for UX and how it's going to evolve, because your project will likely change over time. You might spend time building, designing, whereas especially as a developer, first make it work, then make it pretty. And GUM especially allows you to do this because what we did is that we designed your UI to how we're going to place it, where it's going to go, where it's going to paste on the screen. Does that work right with your other UX? As you can see, we're covering text in some areas. If I think, well, maybe the buttons will look better over here, and it's changed around where we're going to put it. Then once you've got your UI functional, you got in and out, and this is what's going to work here. Oh no, actually I can do some extra UX here. You can plan out and do it, and GUM helps you with this, but then positioning it, rotating it, scaling it, and blocking things out. Then when you've actually got your actual content and your textures that you want to use in UI, switching them out is very easy. It's like switching out from a blocked out area, so the 9 size textures, just changing some values. You don't need to worry about the position. You don't need to worry about the scale. You don't have to worry about anything that's going on there. You then might go and enhance some of those things. Well, I want a nice style button. So you can work on a single button design as we did the animated button. Look at the different states. Again, state is important when it comes to UI of what visually when the user's looking at it. How do I know that this thing is clickable by looking at it? Is it highlighted? Is it plain? Is it turned off? Is it missing? If when it's on there, is there something to attract a person to know that this option is there selected, so I know if I hit enter or do something, that's going to be available and work. These are the kind of things you will really start. Once your UI is functional, you work on how it's going to look and style and play around with it. More importantly, what I also find with a lot of studios when they're building out the projects and they have an artist for doing the UX, is that you've built your functional element, you're then handing the project over to the designer so they can play. And what you find there is that the emotions or how you connect with the game will change the style of design for the UX and how it's going to look. They might even provide feedback and saying, well, this doesn't work well here. Can you maybe move it to another part of the screens, and here's some styles and things you can work cooperatively to improve it as you're working on the game itself. And there is usually a lot of back and two with these elements and how you're going to work and how you're going to react. And again, things evolve. So using frameworks like GUM to just block out UI for this is what I want here, this going to do. It doesn't need to be pretty. It just needs to work. If I've got a health bar on it, so fine. Do the blocky health bar for all the basic slider control. This is what it looks like here, without any styling, without anything pretty. Just make it work. and get on there. So anyway, if you've got questions at this point, I've gone, despite the fact that we're on 2 hours of session now, back to back, in the wrong order. I apologize. We'll fix it in time codes. I would edit the video, but that's more hassle than it's worth in these streams. But we've actually got 2 weeks worth of content done in one, so maybe I'll take next week off. I don't know, maybe. So over to you, chat, about any questions. Well, I mean, not just about this. It can be anything about MonoGame or what it's like to build games, or are you a long-time sufferer from Unreal and Unity, and you need the help and support to come to MonoGame to learn to code? I apologize. Coding in other systems is fun. I can do some C++ or blueprints in Unreal and come to MonoGame and find it's just all code. Fun. You're all quiet, and I'm actually hungry now. I think I need to snack on something and make a phone call, because I got a phone call in the middle of the stream, and I told them to go away. So we check, replay. Oh, right. Ooh, and I also need to go. At least I'm going to respond to text. See, I'll see if there's any questions or queries. I'll probably just type something completely wrong. You're all on stream, you're there. You're all very quiet. But anyway, in that case, we've been 2 hours. And if you're watching this back, I apologize for the confusion, but hey ho. Oh, okay. Question for Vic to throw on screen. Is there a project that's pushed Gum to its limit? And what was it? You'll probably have to put links in chat and do it afterwards, because I'm hungry and I need to go. But anyway, thanks, John, for the question. I'll let Vic answer in comments. So anyway, this has been your MonoGame University, and we shall catch you all next week. Now, okay, thanks to the foo bar, we're moving past UI. We just did it in one long trunch. And, oh, yes. 22 snake game mechanics. Time to take this snake to its limit. And it's no longer a single solitary slime venturing out into the world. He's got Gum. But anyway, I shall catch you all next week. And party on, dudes.